Want a beanie that's as practical as it is polished? This cable stitch design blends cozy comfort with bold texture. Hey guys, I'm T, maker of 600 plus crochet patterns and tutorials. Welcome back to the channel. Today's tutorial is all about balance. Fashion meets function. This cable stitch beanie is tailored and timeless, with bold cables and alpine texture giving it that classic knitwear vibe to elevate any winter look, and best of all, it works up super quickly, making it the perfect handmade gift. If you're new here, welcome. We share trendy and cozy crochet tutorials every Sunday and Wednesday, so tell a friend, tap the bell, and subscribe so you never miss an upload. And if you enjoy the video, give it a big thumbs up if you like it, or 2 thumbs down if you don't. Either way, it helps keep these tutorials free. Any category 4 yarn will work. I used a total of 160 grams, that's 360 yards if you're stateside, along with a 6mm hook. Pattern link below, use code TCDDIY for a discount on orders over $9.99. Stay to the end for this week's pattern giveaway. For this project, we're using all basic stitches, but post stitches is what turns it into cables and alpine. They're all on screen now, pause to check it out. And don't worry if you're new to cables, I'll walk you through every twist. This tutorial is set for an adult size, but it's easy to adjust, so without further ado, let's stitch up a beanie that's warm, stylish, and made just for you, or a friend. We're all going to start by setting up the base chain, working up the beanie body in a simple tube in the rounds. We're all going to grab our category 4 yarn and make a slip knot. Then grab our 6mm hook. Begin with a long chain of 76, that's just about 23 inches or 59 centimeters. But since we're making a long chain, let's all do a fun trick to make sure that our chain isn't twisted. Let's all start with a chain 5. With our chain 5, we're going to pull some slack. Insert your hook into that first chain that we made. Then place your slack loop back onto your hook, pull, and we're going to continue chaining per usual. Now 76 is the base size for an adult. It does need to be worked in multiples of 19. So if the 76 feels a little bit off, but adding or subtracting 19 stitches wouldn't be right either, simply adjust by switching to a larger or a smaller hook. That way you can fine-tune the fit without changing the stitch pattern. Now I already have the entirety of the body of my beanie completed, so I'm just going to do a small sample size with you, but don't worry, the instructions will be done exactly the same way no matter how many chains you have. And when we have our final chain length, we're just going to pull that first loop underneath that second loop. And now we have a full circle and our chain isn't twisted. Getting started with our row 1, that's just a half double crochet row, so chain 2. That's our turning chain, we just want the height. Simply put 1 half double crochet into every chain. So insert, pull through, yarn over, pull through 3. Work 1 half double crochet into every chain. And with the completion of this row, try our piece on just to make sure that the opening for the beanie is still the same size that you want. A quick fix would be to redo some stitches while adjusting the tension. And at the end of this row, we are going to have the same number of stitches as chains that we made. And so to close off the row, we're going to slip stitch into that second chain that we made when we started this row. So here's 1, here's 2. Into that second chain, insert with a slip stitch to connect the end to the beginning of the row. Now that connection does look like it gives us an additional stitch. That's just to connect, it doesn't actually count as a stitch. Next row is a single crochet row, so chain 1. Flip our work and put 1 single crochet into every stitch. We want to make sure that we're flipping after every row because the cables that we're about to do for the following row isn't reversible. So the front of the half double crochet row is going to be the front of the piece. And our single crochet row should have the same number of stitches as our last row. Now, closing off the row, simply slip stitch into that chain 1 space that we made when we start off the row. Row 2 complete. Now we're going to get started on the fun part, our cable stitch row, so chain 2 and flip. Now everyone's following stitches are going to be the same no matter what size we're making. We're all starting with our alpine stitch detail. Now the instructions are going to be the same size for everyone no matter what size we're making. So yarn over. Into that first stitch, insert with just a half double crochet. Pretty simple. Alpine stitches alternate between a half and a front post double, so we're going to yarn over preparing for a front post double. Now all of the post stitches are going to be worked into our previous odd number row. So since we're working on row 3, we're going to work into our row 1. We're going to find that next stitch from our row 1. We want to make sure that we're not working into that first half double crochet that's nearest to the chain 2 because that half double crochet that we just did counts as that stitch. So into that next stitch, we're going to bring our hook down underneath the body of that stitch and through the other side. We're going to yarn over and pull through. When we have these 3 loops on our hook, we want to pull up nice and tall to get that Alpine peak and also to get the same height as the half double crochet stitch we just did. Then yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2. So we just closed off with a double crochet per usual. Then we're going to do one more half double crochet. We are going to skip 1 stitch from our previous row because that front post double crochet counts as that stitch. If we work into there, we're accidentally going to increase. So into the next, insert with 1 half double crochet. And that is everyone's Alpine stitch detail. Then we're going to work our twists. That's always going to start with our dividing stitch, which is a front post treble crochet. So we're going to yarn over twice. Underneath that next stitch from our row 1, bring our hook down, underneath the body of that stitch through the other side, pull through. Then we're going to yarn over and pull through 2 until we have 1 loop left on our hook. And that is 1 front post treble crochet. That's the dividing stitch. Now for the twist, yarn over twice again. Skip 1 stitch from our row 1. Underneath the next 2 stitch, 1 front post treble crochet into each. So underneath that next stitch, through the other side and pull through. Again, yarn over and pull through 2 until we have 1 loop left, and once more into that next stitch. Then for the fun part, which is the crossover, we're going to yarn over twice again. Into that 1 skip stitch, bring our hook back, underneath, through the other side, and front post treble per usual. Now this crossover could feel a little bit awkward, but it is doable, and that is our twist. Our twists are always framed off with our dividing stitch, so yarn over twice. It's always going to be a front post treble, just into that next stitch with 1 front post treble crochet. And that is our twist. Now after that twist is an Alpine stitch detail. It's going to be the same as the first one. So we're going to start with a half double crochet, but we want to make sure that we're skipping 5 stitches from our previous row because we just took up a total of 5 stitches here for our twist. So let's count out together 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 into the next, starting with 1 half double crochet. Then we're going to do a front post double, same as before. Yarn over, underneath the body, through the other side, pull through, pull up tall, pull through 2, pull through 2. Then again, a half double, making sure we're skipping 1 stitch from the last row because we just did a front post double. Now this Alpine stitch detail should match the first in stitches and in stitch count, so 3. Up next is the exciting part, which is our cable, and our big cable is going to be framed off with our dividing stitch as well. So yarn over twice. Our dividing stitches are always going to be a front post treble. So just into that next stitch, underneath, yarn over, pull through 2, and pull through 2 until we have 1 loop left on our hook. Then we're going to do front post double treble crochet, so that's going to be yarn over of 1, 2, 3. Skip the next 2 stitches from our previous odd number row. Then underneath the next with 1 front post double treble. Again, that's going to be yarn over and pull through 2 until we have 1 loop left on our hook. That's 1. Another front post double treble into that next stitch. So yarn over 1, 2, 3 times. Into that next stitch, underneath, through the other side, and pull through 2 until we have 1 loop left. Then working back into those 2 skip stitches, 1 front post double treble into each of those. Yarn over 3 times. Bring our hook back, underneath that first stitch, through the other side, and pull through 2 until we have 1 loop left. Again, working back may feel awkward. It'll get easier the more we do it. And into that last skip stitch, another front post double treble. So bring our hook down, underneath, and pull through 2 till we have 1 loop left on our hook. Now that is the front crossover portion for the big cable. We still have 2 more stitches left to do for the big cable, and that's going to be 1 front post treble into the next 2 stitches. So yarn over twice. Underneath that next stitch, through the other side, pull through 2, 2, 2. Another one right next to it, so another front post treble. Then to close off the cable, it's always going to be a front post treble crochet, which is our dividing stitch. So yarn over twice. Underneath the body, through the other side, pull through and pull through 2 till we have 1 loop left. Now this is what we should all have so far. Count out your stitches, we should all have a total of 19. We're going to keep repeating these 19 stitches all the way around the beanie. Now let's just get started on that next Alpine stitch detail together. Right after we just completed our big cable, We're then going to skip a total of 8 stitches and do our first half double crochet into that next stitch. We're skipping 8 stitches because we just took up a total of 8 stitches right here for our big cable. Counting out my 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 stitches. So into that next, insert with a half double. That's the beginning of our Alpine stitch detail. Then our front post double, half double, then work straight into the next section, which is our twists. Now, if you need to go back and look at any of the sections, each of the sections will be linked in the description below. And don't worry if the first few rows look a little mushy. You'll actually be able to start seeing the detail of the cables once we're a couple rows in. Now, when we've worked our way around, everyone's last section is going to be the big cable, ending on our dividing stitch. We are going to end up with the same number of stitches as our previous row, and we're just going to close off the row the same way that we connected our row 1. So counting up into that second chain that we made, we're going to slip stitch into there, and our row 3 is completed. Now for this, every even number row is a single crochet row. So we're going to chain 1, make sure that we flip our work and put 1 single crochet into every stitch all the way around. And row 4 is actually going to close off the same way as our row 2, so just slip stitch into that chain 1 space that we made to start off the row. Now really quickly, when it comes to looking at the back of our cable stitch detail, it is going to form these little pockets. If you're a little new to cables, it does look scary, but it's completely normal. That just happens because we're working into the front post instead of the top of the stitches. Now, getting started on our row 5, chain 2 and flip. Now, like I said, each of our post stitches are going to be worked into our previous odd number row. We're currently working row 5. We're going to be inserting our post stitches into our row 3. And we're all starting with our Alpine stitch detail. Our Alpine stitches need to be staggered, so since the first stitch for our last Alpine detail was a half double, we're now going to work a front post double into that half double. Yarn over once, inserting your hook underneath the first half double, through the other side, pull through. Don't forget, pull up tall, pull through 2, pull through 2. Then a half double. Making sure we skip 1 stitch from our previous row, because that front post double counts as that stitch, half double into the next. Then we're going to front post double again, so yarn over once. Into our last Alpine stitches, half double, pull through, pull up tall, pull through 2, and that is everyone's Alpine stitch detail. Then moving on to the twist. The twists are actually always going to be the same. That's going to start with our dividing stitch, yarn over twice. Into the dividing stitch from our previous odd number row, bring our hook underneath, through the other side, and pull through. Pull through 2 until we have 1 loop left on our hook again. Then for the same twist that we just did, yarn over twice. Skip 1 stitch from our previous row and into that next with a front post treble crochet, then into that next stitch with another front post treble crochet. Then working into that 1 skip stitch, another front post treble crochet, exactly the same as before. Then just to frame off our twist, another front post treble crochet, which is our dividing stitch. And the twisty's done. Onward to the Alpine stitch detail, which is going to be the same as the first for this row. Start with a front post double, because remember our stitches need to be staggered. So into our previous Alpine's half double crochet, through the other side, and pull through. Again, we're going to pull up tall, pull through 2, pull through 2. Then we need to work a half double crochet. But since we just did a total of 7 stitches here, that 7 counts as our last front post double from our previous Alpine detail, the 5 stitches for our twist, and the front post double that we just did, we're going to half double crochet into the next stitch. So skipping 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 stitches into that next with 1 half double crochet. Then our last stitch in this Alpine detail is another front post double. Another set of 3 stitches for our Alpine. Then for the fun part, our big cable, and remember that's always framed off with our front post treble crochet or our dividing stitch, whatever you want to call it really. Right after that, we're going to do a set of 2 front post treble crochets, just 1, into each of the next 2 stitches. Yarn over twice, underneath that first with our first front post treble, into that next with another front post treble. Now so far for this big cable, we should have a total of 3 front post trebles next to each other, but remember that first one is our dividing stitch. Then we're going to skip the next 2 stitches and 1 front post double treble crochet into the next 2. So skip 1, skip 2. Underneath that next, pull through and yarn over and pull through 2 until we have 1 loop left. Again, into that next stitch with another front post double treble crochet. Now, the crossover for our row 5's cable is a fun one. We're going to be working in through that window that we just made for ourselves to work back into those 2 skip stitches. It's going to be a set of front post double treble crochets again, so yarn over 3 times. Hang on to your working yarn, it can very easily fall off, and we're going to pull downwards. These are 2 skip stitches. Here's 1, here's 2. Work into that first skip stitch with 1 front post double treble. This one can feel a little awkward as well, but you'll get the hang of it once we get a few cable rows in. It's just the same, yarn over and pull through 2 until we have 1 loop left. If you pull our work tall, you can kind of start to see the crossover, but we have 1 more stitch left to do. So again, yarn over 3 times. We're going to hang on to our working yarn, pull it down, and find that last skip stitch. This is mine right here. Underneath that stitch, pull through, and pull through 2 till we have 1 loop left on our hook. And that is the cable stitch crossover for our row 5. Close off our big cable with a front post treble. And this is our cable stitch detail completed, also completing our 19 stitch repeat for this row. Just to start the Alpine stitch detail with you, we're going to start with a front post double crochet into that half double from our Alpine stitch detail. Then we're going to work a half double crochet, skipping 10 stitches from our previous row. Those 10 stitches is for the front post double from our last Alpine detail, the 8 stitches for our cable, and the front post double we just did. So all together, here's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10 into that next with a half double crochet. Easy peasy, close off this Alpine stitch detail with our front post double, and the next section is our twist. Now each of these sections will be timestamped and linked in the description for you as well if you want to go back and take a look at any of them. And if you recognize this cable detail, it could be because it matches our leg warmers that we just posted. Here's a link of that if you'd like to check those out. They're super cozy and just as cute. And since we are working a tube, we are still going to have the same number of stitches as our previous row, then just connect it to the beginning of the row the same way that we've been doing. Now again, every even number row, a single crochet row. So make your way back around, making sure we're flipping our work with 1 single crochet into every stitch. And with the ending of our row 6, we are actually complete with our row repeat. We're now actually going to repeat rows 3 through 6. So like I said, we are going to be repeating rows 3 through 6 until the tube reaches the desired height. But keeping in mind, we are going to have 2 rows just to top that off to help us with our cinch. But just to make sure that we all have it down, let's get started on our row 7 together, which is going to be a repeat of our row 3. Now remember how our row 3 started with a half double? So is our row 7. Yarn over into that first stitch with a half. Remember, our Alpine stitches need to be staggered, so into our half double from our previous Alpine section with a front post double. Then with another half double. And our twists are always going to be the same, so just making sure that we're working into our previous odd number row. Now think of our rows 3 through 6 as our rhythm section. Once we've got the repeat down, it's just a matter of stacking the rows until the beanie is as tall as you would like. Now I have a total of 26 rows. This height, just about 8 inches or 20 centimeters. Now we're going to do 2 rows that help cinch in the top of the beanie so that we can pull it nice and tight at the very end. We're all going to chain 2 and flip, and all we're going to do is basically combine our dividing stitches and skip over our Alpine stitch detail. Now it sounds a lot harder than it actually is, so let's just get the first connecting of our dividing stitches completed. We're going to take a look at that last dividing stitch that we just did. That dividing stitch is actually the end of our previous cable stitch row. We're going to yarn over twice and bring our hook down underneath that dividing stitch, yarn over, and pull through. Now we are going to combine these 2 dividing stitches, so we're going to yarn over and pull through 2 until we have 2 loops left on our hook. Then when we have these 2 loops, we're going to yarn over twice again, then skip over all of our Alpine stitch details and work underneath that next dividing stitch. Then we're going to yarn over and pull through 2 until we have 3 loops on our hook. When we have these 3, we're just going to yarn over and pull through all 3. And that's basically how we're going to decrease our row. But the twist and the cables are going to be exactly the same. So get this next twist started, then we're just going to combine the next 2 dividing stitches together again. Same as the last one, we're going to yarn over twice. Underneath that next dividing stitch, bring your hook underneath, pull through, yarn over, pull through 2 until we have 2 loops left on our hook, yarn over twice, skip over all those alpines into that next dividing stitch and pull through. Then yarn over, pull through 2 until we have 3 loops left on our hook. With those 3, just yarn over and pull through all 3 of those loops. Now our dividing stitches are connected. Like I said, our cables and our twists are going to be done exactly the same way, so go ahead and get the rest of this row completed. Now this decrease helps give the beanie its classic shape. It is helping us cinch the tube for a nice, neat, and secure finish. Now quick tip, if the top of this row looks a little gappy, that is completely normal. Right after this row, we're going to do another cinching single crochet row. That's going to help with the gappage and also help us cinch later. But when we reach the end of the row, since we did combine our dividing stitches already, all we're going to do once we're done with the cable stitch detail is just slip stitch into that second chain that we made. Now, for our next single crochet cinching row, we're going to chain 1. We're not going to flip after this row because we want to show the front of the single crochets just to keep things as pretty as possible. And all we're going to do is into that first stitch, insert with 1, into the next 2 stitches, a decrease. So insert, pull through, next stitch, pull through 3, and repeat. So 1 single crochet, then a decrease all the way around. And as we have made our way around with this decreased single crochet row, we are still going to slip stitch into that chain space that we made when we started this row. Then we're actually going to weave the top in together to form our cinch. So I'm just going to yarn over and pull, then with that slack, pull roughly 18 inches because we're going to use that to weave in the top of the beanie. So to cinch the top, we're going to flip the beanie wrong side out so that the inside is facing you. Now thread a yarn needle through your working yarn, and we're going to make passes through the top edge stitches all the way around. We want to make sure that it's nice and even, so take your time. Once when we have made our way all the way around, we're going to pull our working yarn tight to help cinch the tube closed. Then just along the top where it scrunches nice and tight, I like to do just a couple extra passes to make sure it's nice and secure. Now this cinch method is strong and flexible, so the beanie can keep its shape even after some wear. With that completed, secure your tail end down, weave in your ends, and cut. Ta-da! The cinch is completed. Now for that fold over finish, the brim. The brim is what gives its beanie its polished look and secure fit, where we're going to work lengthwise in double crochets so it folds over for that classic knitwear vibe. We're going to start with a single crochet row along the bottom. That's pretty simple. We're just going to place our yarn onto our hook and simply put 1 single crochet into each of our stitches along the bottom. Now once when the single crochet row is completed, we're going to connect it by slip stitching into that chain space. Then we're going to start by working double crochet rows lengthwise. So start with a chain the length that we'd like for the brim to be. Now I'd like for my brim to be just about 3 inches or 8 centimeters, so I'm going to start with a chain 12. Now after that length, we're going to chain 3, that's just our turning chain. Then we're going to double crochet into that 4th chain from our hook and continue with 1 double crochet into every chain. When we're at the base of our brim, we're going to have to connect it into that single crochet row. So we're going to count up 2 stitches because that double crochet is tall. Here's 1, here's 2. Into that 2nd stitch into the base, slip stitch into there. That slip stitch doesn't count as a stitch, that's basically just to anchor down this first row. Then we do need to work our way up to the next row. So we're going to slip stitch up the next 2 stitches. So into that next stitch, there's 1, next stitch with another slip stitch. Now those 2 slip stitches into the base don't count as a stitch either. That's basically our turning chain, and we're going to flip our work. Now work 1 back loop double crochet into every stitch. Into that first stitch's back loop, we're going to insert into that back loop or the loop that's furthest away from us with a double crochet. Then into that next stitch's back loop with another double crochet. And we're going to keep working 1 back loop double crochet into the rest of our stitches. Now because the brim is worked lengthwise, it actually has a natural stretch, perfect for folding over without any bulk. After our row 2 is completed, we're going to chain 3, flip our work, and work another back loop double crochet row all the way back down. And that's pretty much it for the brim. We're just going to keep working these 2 rows. Now when we've run out of stitches to work into the base, we're going to connect it with a single crochet seam. And the single crochet seam is actually going to be on the inside. So once we complete our last row, we're going to flip our brim down so that we can seam the 2 ends of our brim together. So insert your hook into the corner stitches of both the front and the back of the brim. Then just single crochet into both the front and the back panel at the same time, closing up the 2 edges that we have. And then when we run out of stitches, go ahead and cut. And with the brim folded up, your cable stitch beanie is complete. A bold, textured statement piece that blends cozy with comfort with a runway ready style. Now the last thing you have to do is simply weave in all of our ends. And there you have it. We've just finished our cable stitch beanie. Cozy, stylish, and handmade by you. Lovely. Now I can't wait to see your versions. Be sure to post them in our community tab and let me know in the comments how you would style this beanie. Would you add a pom-pom or keep it sleek and simple? Now don't forget to enter this week's pattern giveaway for our cable stitch turtleneck shawl and cable stitch leg warmers by telling us if you are a picky eater. Now I want to say no because I am down to try anything, but I do have a weird thing with textures, particularly with meat. I'll try it, but I may not vibe with it because of the texture. So kind of, maybe. If you enjoyed this tutorial, hit that like button and subscribe so you never miss a new pattern. We drop fresh content every Sunday and Wednesday. For daily inspo, follow TCDDIY on Instagram and TikTok for behind the scenes content, sneak peeks, and crochet ideas. And if you would like more perks, join our channel membership. You'll get 30% off or more all patterns, plus exclusive behind the scenes access. It's like your VIP pass to our yarn world. As always, thank you guys so much for watching. Happy hooking, and I'll see you on the next one. Bye!